Hey guys, welcome back to another safety review session. I'm your host, Ms. Bayekem. So today we'll be going through the May-June 2017 Safety Biology past paper. Please remember to like, share, comment, and also turn on your notifications so you know whenever we post a video, because guess what? We'll be dropping videos left, right, and center. So you guys don't want to miss anything. Let us begin. So question one. Which of the following features is used to classify a group of organisms as class Insecta? So now we're trying to classify insects. So can we use their size, which is A, B, their shape, C, color, D, segments? So the best possible answer here would have been their segments, because remember, insects have 3 body segments. They have the head, the thorax, and the abdomen. Question 2. Which of the following options correctly defines a niche and a habitat? So we have A for the niche, the role that an organism plays in the habitat in which it lives. The habitat, then the place where an organism lives. Then B for the niche, the place where an organism lives. And then for the habitat, the role that the organism plays in the habitat in which it lives. So C, the niche is a community of living organisms which shares the environment. The habitat is the abiotic and biotic factors of the ecosystem. Then D, the biotic factors of the ecosystem where the organism lives. And then for the habitat, the abiotic factors of the ecosystem where the organism lives. So the best possible answer is definitely A, which is the niche is the role that an organism plays in the habitat in which it lives, and then the habitat is the place where the organism lives. Question 3. Which of the following relationship may present harm to one of the organisms involved? So we have I, commensalism, 2, parasitism, 3, predation. So we already know this answer. Definitely have to be 2 and 3, which is parasitism and predation, because in commensalism relationship, one organism benefits while the other does not, but neither is that organism harmed. So that is out of it. So the answer is definitely C, where we have 2 and 3. Question 4. Item 4 refers to the following food web. So the question, a herbivore, carnivore, and an omnivore respectively are, so we have to actually look at the food web. So at the bottom, we can see that we have grass and lignum vitae, and these are the producers, these are the plants. The next level, you can see that we have caterpillar, grasshoppers, goat, and these are the herbivores, and that is because we can actually see that their relationship is that they're eating these plants. All right. Then as we go further, we have lizard, chicken, hummingbird, and these would have been our carnivores. These would have been our carnivore. And at the top level now, we would have man, which is our omnivore. And these are our producers. So now we can actually go back to the question and figure out the answer. So our herbivore, carnivore, and an omnivore respectively are, so we have A, goat. So let us look where goat is. So goat is a herbivore. All right, lizard. A lizard is the carnivore, and then man. Man would be the omnivore, all right? That is looking okay. What about B? So for B, we have grass. So because it starts with grass, they didn't ask us about a producer, so that's out of it. C, we have caterpillar. So the caterpillar, yes, that's the herbivore. Then we have hummingbird. Hummingbird, we say it's a carnivore because it's eating that said caterpillar. Then we have goat. But guess what? Goat is also a herbivore, so that's out of it. Then D, it starts with lignum vitae. Lignum vitae is the producer, so that's out of it. So our answer is definitely A. All right, moving on. Question 5. Which of the following organisms are most important in biodegradation? I'm pretty sure you guys met this already, so the answer is definitely bacteria. So if you're here for the first time, please go and check out our other videos. So 6. Which of the following is not true about decomposers? So we have A, they release nutrients for recycling. B, they reproduce faster in low temperatures. C, they're more abundant in damp places. D, they prevent the accumulation of dead organic matter. So the answer is definitely B. B is not true. They do not reproduce faster in low temperatures. Question 7. Item 7 refers to the simple food web constructed from some organism found in an arboreal region of the tropical rainforest. So now we have the question. The predators in the food web are, so guys, predators are normally at the top of the food web, top tier. So they're at the top. So we can always start from the bottom. So strangler, fig, those are not the predators. This is a producer. And then this would be the herbivore if we went back to what we did before. This could be the omnivore, and then we'd have our carnivore, which is the predator. So now for this one too, we have the tree, which is the producer, and we have the sloth here, which is a herbivore because it's eating the tree. So now based on what we saw, the two carnivores have to be, well, not carnivores, but the two predators have to be definitely VI and V. All right. So now let us look for an answer with VI. So it has to be D. So the only two that have VI, well, the only one that have VI actually is this one, is D. All right. I thought B had it, but it was IV. So the only one that had VI is D. All right. So that's the answer. The answer have to have VI, guys. This is the predator. He is the harpy eagle, is the top predator, is the top carnivore. All right. So this organism can eat any one of these. Moving on, question 8. About 10% of the energy stored in food is available to the next organism in a food chain because we have A, most of the energy is lost as heat during a process of respiration. B, most of the energy is lost during the process of excretion. C, there are fewer consumers than producers in a food chain. D, many consumers compete for the same food source. So the answer is definitely A, most of the energy is lost as heat during respiration. Question 9. Which of the following is the main advantage of recycling? So we have A, recycled products are cheaper. B, recycled products are more durable. C, recycling saves on raw materials. And then D, recycling creates jobs. So the main reason for recycling is definitely C. Recycling products save on raw materials. Question 10. Which of the following statements best outline why the coral reefs in the Caribbean are at risk? So we have A, there has been overfishing of invasive species. B, the Caribbean is a popular tourist destination. C, there have been many hurricanes in the Caribbean. D, there has been a decrease in the volume of sewage flowing into the reefs. So based on what the question is asking, which is why the coral reefs in the Caribbean are at risk, we would have realized that D is out of it. So now we have A, there has been overfishing of invasive species. So because the keyword here that was mentioned is invasive species, then A is out of it, because guess what? We would have wanted to get rid of invasive species, because just like invaders, they're not supposed to be there. They're not wanted there. So if we are overfishing of those invasive species, then we would have been doing something good for those species, or for the regular species that should have been there, like the normal fish or the coral reef. So A is out of it also. So now we're stuck between B and C. So B states the Caribbean is a popular tourist destination, and then C, there have been many hurricanes in the Caribbean. So when I'm stuck with a question that the choices are so similar, I normally read over the actual question to know what I really want. So which of the following statements best outlines why coral reef in the Caribbean are at risk? So we're looking for the one that best outlines. So we have B, the Caribbean is a popular tourist destination. This is definitely true. And then C, there have been many hurricanes in the Caribbean. So I would definitely go with B, the reason being that in the Caribbean, not every Caribbean country gets hurricane, and not every Caribbean country gets it every year or even in the hurricane period. So what I'm basically trying to say is that the hurricanes don't necessarily affect every Caribbean island, so it won't be a good collective response to choose that one. But every Caribbean island, as far as I know, like I'm saying, to my knowledge, they are tourist areas, so they are tourist destination, and we definitely know that the tourists can damage our coral reefs. So I'm going to stick with B. Question 11. Items 11 refers to the following diagram. Which of the following factors most likely account for the change in population size from January 1980 to January 1989? So we can actually go and look at the graph now. So January 80 to 89. So we can realize that there's a decrease in the population. So now we can actually read the options. So we have I, increase in contraceptive use. 2, epidemic of deadly disease. 3, increase in migration. 4, decrease in fatal crimes. So we definitely know that 4 is out of it, because if there is a decrease in fatal crimes, then it would have increased. So increase in migration, yes, that could be one of the reasons why there is a decrease right here. And 2, epidemic of deadly disease. So those 2 are definitely in there. So 3, increase in contraception use or contraceptive use. You would have think that this would have been in it, but if we're talking about the 1980 and the 1989, then chances are contraception or contraceptive methods are not so popular back then. So the answer would definitely have to be 2 and 3. So that's B. Question 12. When compared to a cheek cell, a muscle cell contains more. So we have A, vacuoles, B, ribosomes, C, mitochondria, D, chromosome. So the answer is definitely mitochondria. We did this in a previous video. So like I said, please go ahead and check out all the other videos. So remember, we said that the mitochondria provides energy, and more of it would have been in the muscle cell, because remember, we need our muscles to do work. Items 13. So items 13 refers to the following diagram of a bacterium. As you can see, the part labeled X is this. So we have A, nucleus, B, vacuole, C, strand of DNA, D, cytoplasm containing ribosome. So if we look at X, we can actually see that is a strand of DNA, because it's the bacteria we're talking about. Question 14. Which of the following comparisons of the cell wall and the cell membrane is incorrect? So now we're going to try to compare the cell wall and the cell membrane. So we have A for the cell wall, found in plant cell only. Cell membrane found in both plants and animal cell. All right. B, freely permeable. Cell membrane differentially permeable. C, contains cellulose. Cell membrane does not contain cellulose. And then D, found in both plant and animal cell, and then found in animal cell only. So now D is incorrect, because The cell wall is only found in plant cell. Question 15. Item 15 refers to the following diagram, which shows a process by which substances are moved in and out of the cell. So the question, which of the following correctly identifies and describes the process occurring above? So let us look at the diagram. So in the first diagram, we have concentrated sugar solution. Okay, and you can see these big molecules are the sugar molecules. And then in the other half, we have dilute sugar solution. And then you can see that these smaller dots are water molecules. So the bigger dots are sugar molecules, the smaller ones are water molecules. And I did not make that up. Look at the diagram. So now you can also see that we have a membrane, a layer, a permeable membrane. So it's going to allow certain substances to pass through, and that certain substances has to be the smaller molecules if you look at like the shape that is here or the pores that is here. So it has to be the smaller molecule, which is the water molecule. So guess what? Water is going to move. We don't know which direction is it, but water can move through this pore that is there. So before we even move over to the next diagram, we can also notice that on this side, the concentrated sugar side, we can actually see more sugar molecules, more larger molecules, which are the sugar. And then on the next side, we can see more water molecules, which are the smaller molecules, and a few bigger dots, which would have been the sugar. And that's why this side is dilute, this side is concentrated, if you did not understand what those terms mean. Moving on, or moving over to the next slide, we still have the same amount of water level for this part. But now, as you can see, we have more small, this first part of the container. And then if we move over, we realize that we have less dots. And it has lost something. We don't know what it lost as yet, but we have less dots, less small dots, less large dots, which we didn't even have a lot of large dots to begin with. And remember, the large dots are the sugar, smaller ones are the water. So we didn't have a lot of sugar molecules on this side, but we did have a lot of water. But if you realize now, we don't even have a lot of water molecules on this side. So that would simply mean that because we can see a lot of water molecules, which are the smaller dots on this part, the water move from this side into this side. So if water is moving, then this is definitely osmosis happening. So let us look. So based on this, we have A, diffusion, water moving from concentrated to a dilute solution. B, diffusion, sugar moving from dilute to concentrated solution. So both diffusions are out because we already identify and say because water is moving, it has to be osmosis. So let me say that again. I will repeat it. Guys, if water is moving, it has to be osmosis. It cannot be any other process. Moving on. So C, osmosis, water moving from a dilute to a concentrated solution. Then D, osmosis, sugar moving from a concentrated solution to a dilute solution. So now we have to figure out if water is moving or sugar is moving. I already told you water is moving. So based on what we had before, we would have realized that it's the same diagram. So this inside, this side is gonna be the dilute side. So that means that water is moving from a dilute solution to a concentrated solution. So C is definitely the answer. C is the answer. Water is moving from a region of high concentration, which is the same thing as a dilute solution, to a region of low concentration, which is the same thing as a concentrated solution. Please remember, concentrated solution means that it has a lot of solute, a lot of sugars, a lot of salt. Dilute solution means that it contains less sugar, less salt, hence it has more water. Hence why water moves from a region of higher concentration to a region of lower concentration. I cannot stress this enough. But guys, if you made it this far, please just click the subscribe button. Just do it. Please subscribe. Just do it. So we're going to move on to question 16 while you go and subscribe. Just hit the button. So item 16 refers to the following table, which shows the results of food tests performed on 3 food samples, X, Y, and Z. So 16, the sample X, Y, and Z respectively most likely contain, so we can actually read what's in the table. So they're saying X, violet color with sodium hydroxide and copper sulfate. We all know that's a protein reaction. Y, blue and black precipitate with iodine, that's a starch reaction. And then Z, or Z, orange precipitate when heated with Benedict's reagent for hydrolysis, and that's a non-reducing sugar reaction. So now the answer, so X is protein. So the only two that have protein is B and D, all right? The next one is starch, so that's looking like B, and then reducing sugar. So B is out of it because Y is not reducing sugar. Y is starch, and then Z is non-reducing sugar based on what we got from it reacting with Benedict. Question 17. Which of the following are true about nutrition? So we have I, autotrophic, use simple inorganic substances to manufacture complex organic substances. So we have example, green algae. 2, hexarotrophic, the consumption of complex organic substances to produce simpler substances. And we have humans as an example. 3, saprophytic, the use of dead organic matter to manufacture essential nutrients. Example, fungi. So this definitely has to be all of them. So that's D. Question 18. Items 18 refers to the following graph showing the relationship between light intensity and photosynthesis. So 18, which of the following best accounts for the shape of the graph? So if we look at the graph, we have rate of photosynthesis on the y-axis, light intensity on the x. So we have A, as the rate of photosynthesis increases, there is a decrease in carbon dioxide levels. So if we look at the graph, rate of photosynthesis increases, there is a decrease in, no, so that's out of it. B, as the light intensity increases, there is an increase in photosynthesis. There's an increase in photosynthesis, yes, until there is no further increase due to the rate. Sorry, there is no further increase in the rate due to some other limiting factors, which is true because we can see that it's constant here. C, as the light intensity increases, all right, the rate of photosynthesis also increases until a stationary phase exists when denaturation of the enzymes occur. Then D, as carbon dioxide levels gradually increase, there is a similar increase in the rate of photosynthesis. So carbon dioxide increase, similar increase in the rate of photosynthesis until a plateau phase exists where there is no further increase in carbon dioxide results in any further increase in photosynthesis. So the answer, based on what I'm seeing, looks like it's B. As the light intensity increases, there is an increase in photosynthesis, which is true, until there is no further increase in the rate, which is the rate of photosynthesis, due to some other limiting factor, which is the amount of carbon dioxide, as we can see. Number 19. An enzyme is best defined as a molecule which, so we have A, increases the rate of a chemical reaction, B, decreases the rate of a chemical reaction, C, increases the rate of a chemical reaction but remains unchanged at the end of the reaction, D, decreases the rate of a chemical reaction but remains unchanged at the end of the reaction. So the answer is definitely C. Increases the rate of a chemical reaction but remains unchanged at the end of the reaction. Question 20. A 50-year-old male is advised by his doctor to pay special attention to the amount of salt in his diet. He probably has a high chance of developing, so we have A, obesity, B, diabetes, C, hypertension, D, cardiovascular disease. So because they're talking about salt content, the answer has to be hypertension, which is caused by an increase in salt or sodium. High blood pressure, hypertension. 21. The surface area of the lungs is greatly increased by the, so we have A, double membrane of the pleura, B, large numbers of alveoli, C, dense network of capillaries, D, branching of the bronchioles. So the answer is definitely B. 22. Items 22 refers to the following diagram of the respiratory system. Which of the following labeled parts represents the rib cage? So the rib cage is definitely 2. This is the rib cage. So I is the trachea or the cartilage of the trachea. 3 looks like the lung. 4 is definitely the diaphragm. So now we can actually circle our answer because we're sure that it's B. This is the rib cage. Question 23. Which of the following is an effect of nicotine found in cigarette smoke? So we have A, increased heart rate, B, increased beating of the cilia, C, reduced oxygen transport by the blood, D, increased mucus production in the cells lining the respiratory passage. So the answer is definitely increased heart rate. 24. Which of the following options is true for aerobic and anaerobic respiration? So we have A, does not use oxygen, uses oxygen, so that's not true. B, occurs in the cytoplasm, occurs in the mitochondria, that's also false. C, releases large amounts of energy, releases small amounts of energy, this one is true. And in D, at least one product is organic, products are always inorganic. So C is definitely the answer. Question 25. Which of the following statements is not true of the xylem of a flowering plant? So we have A, it is non-living, that is true. B, it contains mitochondria, that is not true. C, it has lignified walls for support, that is true. D, it transports water and minerals and mineral salt, that is definitely true. So like I said, it has to be B because it is non-living, has no use for energy. Remember, mitochondria makes energy, the powerhouse of the cell. 26. Which of the following options best identify some of the transport substances in animals? So we have I, amino acids, 2, hormones, 3, sucrose. So the answer definitely includes I and 2, which is A. Question 27. Items 27 refers to the following diagram of a human heart. So we have the diagram. So which of the following options correctly identifies the structures labeled I, 2, 3, and 4? So if we look at the diagram, I is definitely the aorta. So the only 2 that has aorta being I is A and C. So looking at it, 2 is the pulmonary artery, 3 is the pulmonary vein, and 4 is the bicuspid or mitral valve. So let us look. So we're saying aorta, all right, for I. 2 is the artery, so that's A. And then 3 is the pulmonary vein, and 4 is the bicuspid valve. So the answer is definitely A. 28. The essential vitamin and mineral salt required for blood clotting in humans are, so we have A, vitamin A and magnesium, B, vitamin C and potassium, C, vitamin B and sodium, D, vitamin K and calcium. So the answer is definitely D, vitamin K and calcium. 29. Artificial immunity can best be described as immunity A, acquired from the body's natural defense against disease, B, produced by the deliberate exposure to a pathogen, C, that has been passed on from mother to child in the uterus, D, that has been passed on from a mother's colostrum. So the answer is definitely B, produced by deliberate exposure to a pathogen. Question 30. Although glucose is found in the blood plasma, it does not appear in the urine because of A, osmosis, B, secretion, C, ultrafiltration, D, selective reabsorption. So the answer is definitely D, selective reabsorption. So now, guys, we're once again at the end of another review session. Please remember to like, share, and subscribe if you like the content. Also, leave a comment, and I'll see you guys next time when we review the second half of the CXC Biology 2017 past paper. I'm your host, Ms. Bayakem.